Alright, welcome back to Case Closed Anime Review, episode 286. Part 2 of the Maid Eating Classroom. Yes, that is series, the Mystery of the Cannibal Classroom. Yes, part 2 of this story. This adapts from the rest of chapter 111 and the entirety of chapter 112. They do extend the last little bit, like, here's the thing. So, I'll get to the ending, because the ending is a bit of extension on what it was established in the manga, which was really cool, the fact that it is. So, Conan, basically, figures out who the culprit is, and explain the method of how this fire started with, basically, like, someone pouring, take a bowl with water, put it in the freezer for, like, a whole day, and then steam it, become a magnifying glass, use 10 yen, because he has to about 10 yen. Then put some potato chips down, put black orchid, then black origami, and then poof, fire. And yeah, and the person responsible for it was Hybra, except she was asked to do this by Maria because of her mom. Because she didn't want her mom to force herself to come because she's not well. And, okay, so we found out the culprit is, they need to the principal, and just by sheer coincidence, he just happened to be walking by to overhear all this. And he's been upset that they did an unauthorized science experiment on school grounds without authorization. So, as punishment for this fire, the Hybra and Maria will be charged. Their punishment is replanting the flowers and watering duty for a month, which they agree to, no problem. And then, of course, it's revealed. Oh, and then we have this really cool. There's a couple scenes here with, of course, basically Sichi's parents, where Yuriko is basically in her disguise that she last assumed back in season 1 of the show. Basically her debut appearance. That was the last time she assumed this disguise. And it's mentioned about Aki, of course, at an FBI meeting. Al asked about a tablet, which comes to play later on in the episode, which, of course, the tablet is used thanks, to, of course, to Agasa, obviously. And is, of course, Sichi's father suspects Aki does know that Kona is Sichi. He suspects it. He kind of figured it out too, and, well, they kind of keep her in a loop with the matter. And then, of course, later on in the episode, after seeing, of course, Conan asks a question. Hybra, basically, you have a Gas there too, the hospital, and then the whole thing about, because they kind of, as a reference to the last arc, where they figure out that Wagasa, the assistant teacher, is in fact the missing bodyguard of the late Amanda Hughes, who died over a decade prior to the events of the series. And then we see her standing by the window. We do see something. We do see an image, which the anime put this in here because it was not in the manga, of an earlier image of her from practically from her debut appearance, where it's her wearing a dress, probably a nightgown, and on her upper arms there are scars on her arms. Now this image has not been seen since her debut episode a long time ago, several years ago. That was the last time I saw this thing. And we see her standing by the window. Now, of course, the image that he has of her is an image of her with long sleeves, with her dress that she wears. In the episode, it's shorter sleeves, but long enough basically to cover the scars on her arms. And we see her look out the window. We see a black car drive by, and turns out this actually, we hear a voice, and it belongs to Rum. And by the way, this scene in the manga was only 2 panels. This is like a full minute, and it's a great scene. Because all they look about her hideout, and of course keep an eye on her for a while. Great stuff here. It's like this. Yeah, there's no murder this episode, but it's great expansion upon the previous arc. Good job for that one. Excuse me, since I got to chapter 112, and I'm also going to discuss here the newest chapter. chapter 1148, which means that the anime, it is roughly, I think it's like 36 chapters behind right now. But this arc is ongoing. So, alright, so the newest chapter of the manga, chapter 1148, is known as the Visitor of Chaos. The cover image is basically Conan with Jesse as Tai, and there's a Susan. I can't take it anymore. I've had enough. So then we have Maguire and Tagagi show up here, obviously, with Keba, where basically they overview the whole crime scene with the whole suicide just by sheer coincidence. Oh, Conan's here. Shit, look. This is my second case in one day. Yeah, because... Oh, yeah, also... Sato is here too. Like, wow, all the regulars. Even, oh my gosh, even Santos. I thought Takagi was here. Nope, it's Santos, which is interesting. Sakura, I think, is this. It's been a bit since I last saw him. It's like, yeah, you have the full story, and of course, they debriefed everybody what exactly happened. With the whole gaming stuff and how they got into the apartment. And of course, Conan was one first discovered the fact that found it like this. Basically, yeah, he was murdered. So, they have a possible suicide note, and they discussed it for quite a while. And it's suspected Carmel might be the one who actually responsible, but technically he's never been before, just happened to be a sheer coincidence. And Rum, well, here's as basically the sushi chef. Now, this is interesting because basically there's a scene at the end of the chapter that was quite surprising to me when I read this thing just a few minutes ago. So, and then we see, this is interesting, we see Aki with some APA agents, one of whom being James Brown, and believe it or not, Jodie Starling. Yes. I'm like, oh my gosh, Jodie Starling's back. It's been a while since she was last seen in the series. You're thinking, really? Yeah, in terms of animation, she's not been seen in 2 years. Well, that's because basically they haven't recast her actress yet because, well... Well, the main reason why they haven't recast her yet, well... I should point out, though, her voice actress passed away of organ failure 2 years ago. And the last time I've seen the series, which was prior to one of the more recent movies they released, that was the last time she was ever seen in the series. And this is a return since then. First time in a few years since she was last seen. Yep. So, the last time she was seen in this series, and this might surprise you, so, in the manga, the last time she was seen prior to this very case was actually in chapter 1166. So it's been almost 100 chapters since her last appearance in the series. Mostly her last couple appearances have been background appearances. Yes, if you're curious about her appearances in the anime, her last known appearance was actually fairly recently in the Inconspicuous Matchmaking, which aired 2 years ago, and her appearance in the episode was nothing more than a flashback. So her actual last appearance in the series was in the 3-parter The Black Organization Scheme, which was basically the FBI serial murder case. Which, in terms of the manga, well, the anime, that was 2 years ago. But you're thinking, okay, what about in terms of the manga? It was actually a little bit longer than that. I think it's been like a few years. I'm bringing up right now what was quite possibly her last physical appearance in the manga, because right now it's 2025. So, her last appearance in the series was, I kid you not, in terms of the manga, was 2 years ago. Okay, so that was the anime. So, in terms of the manga, this is her first appearance in 5 years. In person, not flashback, in person. So, first time in 5 years she's been seen. And she's talking to Aki about this stuff, and then we see most tech boys minus Conan. Excuse me. And of course, he has her hybrid, has her black organization. It's like, no. And they're discussing about various different stuff related to the case, obviously. And then we see Wagashi, where he is a conversation with people from the black organization. Like, what's our move? No, hold off. We don't catch on. Sweet Jammer? No. Yep. Given no one's calling me yet, but the FBI doesn't know you have a number. So, yeah. And Wagashi is obviously just playing everybody. He has a little pal thing. Of course, they don't know the fact. Actually, nobody knows in this room. He's basically the second command of basically of a criminal organization. No one knows this at all. So, discuss the whole case thing. There's like, poll here and. And of course, you have Sushi Chef check out a line, of course. Carmel's in the apartment, and then a weird, one of the most bizarre endings that I think anybody's ever seen. Wagashi shows up. Wakabayashi. One of Conan's teachers just happens to be living in this apartment, and she's the sushi chef. Now that is an ending. It says, I've heard it somewhere before. I've heard it before somewhere. Have we met before, Mr. Sushi Chef? Ooh, yes. Oh, that voice. I'm like, ooh, this is interesting. Yeah, you have my interest about this case. Like, oh my gosh. By the way, it's just by sheer coincidence that this case just happens to start, like, about a month after the last case wrapped up. I'm like, oh my gosh. And those of you curious though, like, when it comes to Wakabayashi, Wakasha, I think her name, yeah, Wakasha. Yeah, prior to this story, like, yes, there is the teacher thing that they just aired in the anime. I just talked about this one. But prior to this chapter, now, apparently 1020 it's out, I haven't read it yet, but her last known appearance was in chapter 1112. But her last anime appearance was actually not that long ago. If you're really curious, how long ago was her last appearance in the anime? Just, well, prior to this two-parter, was actually not that long ago. You're like, really? Yeah, really. It was just last month that we just last saw her. Here's the weird thing related to her. Like, she made her debut in the anime in episode 889, which was 7 years ago. You're like, what? 7 years ago? Yeah, that was the last. That was her debut appearance in the manga. This was 966, mind you. Yes, chapter 966. So, her debut in the manga was back in 2016. So she only been in the manga now for 9 years. In the anime, it's only been 7 years since her debut appearance. But she's been a good around period of time longer than that. Oh yeah, definitely. Like, she hasn't made a lot of appearances per se. I mean, prior to the last case, or last appearance she appeared in was Detective Boy, the Two Leaders, which was early this year, was actually the most following case. And that case in particular was only released like not too long ago. Yeah, prior to the last case he was featured in. This is actually in terms of the manga, just prior to chapter like 1100, which was fairly recently. You're like, really? Yeah, fairly recently. Like, the ones that aired just recently, the one that aired back in January, her previous appearance prior to the last case that aired, in terms of the manga, that was, I kid you not, that was basically in the manga prior to the last case that aired, was actually about back in 2022. And it is something though that the the chess tournament murder case was split into two over the course of about 3 months. Yeah, never had a case last that long before. So as of right now, with the previous two-parter, which aired just a few weeks ago, actually, was just a month ago, actually, excuse me. So when they had finished adapting the chess tournament case, they just finished adapting the chapters that were released 3 years ago. Yeah, about 3 years ago. And now we're into 2023, which only had 4 cases released. Yeah, in 2022, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 7 arcs released in 2022. In 2023, mind you, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cases. You had just 5. Last year was only 4. This year, the one that's released right now, this is only the 4th case this year. And apparently 1004 and it has been released. I haven't read it yet, so I'll probably get a chance to be translated. Yeah. But in terms, basically, well, when I'll probably do the next review, probably this coming Wednesday, because it's taking the anime taking a week off. Yep. But yeah, that's going to be pretty much a particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. By the way, I actually give this chapter a 10 out of 10. Okay? So I'll see you tomorrow for another haul video from Comic Con. We're doing the Comic Con tomorrow. Reviews also for One Piece, The Shy Hero, The Saddest Princesses, and Scooped Up by Esoteric Adventure. Okay? See you tomorrow. Bye.